Ibn Arabi says, "You are not a creation that suddenly appeared. You are a meaning that chose a moment to unveil." So ask yourself, what if your existence didn't start? What if your visibility simply arrived? Speech in the language of time, we say, "I was born," but in the language of reality. Ibn Arabi says this is incomplete. Physical entry is not your origin, your arrival is not your beginning. The day you were seen was not the day you started, but as true existence does not begin. True existence is revealed. Matter comes late, form comes last, but the meaning behind the form is older than clocks, older than calendars, older than sunlight, older than space itself. When Allah said be, that wasn't the moment you started, that was the moment you became visible in the mirror of existence, or essence was already known, already written, already held, already loved. You are not a sudden creation, you are an ancient intention. You are not a random accident, you are a pre-eternal decisione. You are not a body discovering God, you are a soul remembering where it always belonged. Physically, you began. Spiritually, you never started. The real question of the Ibn Arabi path is not, when did I begin? But, when did I realize that I never began? Because the one who realizes this stops searching for a place to fit in the world and begins to understand that the world itself is an echo of something that came before and that before you invisible gives until the moment of visibility silent gives, until the moment of speech unmanifested gives, until the moment of unveiling it, beginning just appearing it created from nothing, but what revealed out of the hidden. You didn't begin, you only became visible. Existence is not an event placed inside a calendar, it is not a dot on a timeline, nor a point that suddenly appeared like a spark inside an empty darkness. It is a meaning, it is a preloaded intention, it is an already scripted reality that only chose a frame inside time to disclose itself. It is like a book that is fully written before the first page is open, like a song that exists before the first note is heard, like a light that is present before the eyes are even created to witness. It's so, when people ask, when did you begin, they are asking the wrong question, because the truth according to Ibn Arabi is this: your appearance happened inside time, but your meaning existed outside time. The moment of birth that you call your beginning is only the moment when the invisible became visible in the theater of physical reality. You were not generated at birth, you were projected at birth. You were carried from the realm of the unseen into the realm of the seen. So what most people think is a biological beginning is actually a metaphysical translation. The soul is not made by the body is assigned to the soul. The soul is not a product of time. Time is only the canvas on which the soul reveals a small slice of its eternal identity. Even science quietly supports this pattern, because every physical phenomenon is an expression of an underlying information state. Physics calls it configuration, mathematics calls it structure, metaphysics calls it isn't the name, the reality, the truth of a thing. Ibn Arabi calls it al-haqiqa, meaning everything that appears in the world has a hidden template, a timeless identity in the divine knowledge. That identity does not start in time, it merely enters time, and so existence is not a point that begins. Existence is a reality that leaks through the borders of the unseen, like fragrance passes through the air even before the flower is seen, like music that reaches the ear even before the instrument is noticed. So, if you think you started when you were born, then your lens is too superficial. You have mistaken visibility as origin. Visibility is only the disclosure of a reality that was already grounded before the clock of the world was wound, before matter condensed, before nanoparticles bonded, before stars ignited, before the cosmic background energy shimmered. Your existence was present in the knowledge of the one who willed all existence. So the real awakening, when a person realizes that they were not launched by biology, they were unveiled by destiny, and real maturity begins when you stop asking, when did I begin, and start asking, when will I remember who I always was, because your essence is older than your story. Your meaning precedes your memory. Your truth came before your timeline. You are not a new thing, you are an ancient thing. You are not a fresh creation, you are an ageless disclosure, and the world is just a mirror where you are temporarily visible only long enough for you to recognize yourself, and then return to the place where time folds back into its origin, where the hidden is more real than the manifest, where the real was always real even when it was yet unshown, where beginning has no meaning, because nothing truly begins. Anything only appears to begin, and everything ultimately thus becomes visible. Birth is not the beginning, it is only the moment when the curtain was lifted and the scene of your physical presence was allowed to appear on the stage that is called time. Most people think that birth is a start, but Ibn Arabi shows that birth is just a disclosure, and disclosure is not origin. Origin is not the moment the body arrives. Origin, it's the timeless decision in the divine knowledge where your meaning was already inscribed and secured before a womb was selected, before a mother breathed, before a star cooled, and before a cell divided. The world believes that your life began when the heartbeat first registered, but the heartbeat is simply a translation of a command that was older than biology and older than matter. When you arrived from the hidden to the visible, it did not create you, it revealed you. The same way a mirror does not generate a face, it only reflects what already exists. So birth is like a mirror, it only shows, it does not invent, and when you forget this, you shrink your identity down to the body that you occupy. But the body is only a carrier, a robo-configured interface through which your ancient meaning interacts with the domain of density and space. Here in this world, we assume that the map creates the mountain, but the mountain is older than the map, and the map is only a representation. Likewise, the birth certificate is only a map of your appearance. It does not define the mountain of your metaphysical origin, and if you think life began when the doctor cut the umbilical cord, you are compressing an eternal lineage of meaning into one biological timestamp, and that is not only scientifically naive, it is spiritually blind, because even physics quietly acknowledges that information precedes expression, the mathematical structure precedes the emergent phenomenon, the equation precedes the visual event, the code precedes the interface, and Ibn Arabi says the name precedes the form. So the body is form, and the soul is the name, and the name is not born, the name is revealed. When you entered this world, you did not start, you were simply encoded in a coordinate of time, the same way a movie scene is already filmed and stored long before the audience watches it on a screen. The screening is not the creation, it is the showing. So you are like a pre-recorded reality that God decided to project onto the cinematic frame of time, and the universe is the screen. Your visibility is the projection, your story, the animation, and people around you are the other characters who are also appearing inside their own appointed frames. So your birth is a synchronization point, not a genesis. It is like a bookmark in a book that was written before the bookmark was placed. You are a pre-written paragraph that was inserted into the chapter of existence. You are not initiated by flesh, you are only outfitted by flesh. The same way water takes the shape of the glass, but water existed before the glass was made. So your essence existed before your physical vessel was formed. The moment the soul and the body were coupled was not the origin, it was the stitching of two domains, the domain of the seen and the domain of the unseen, and the unseen is older, more real, more fundamental. So, when you breathe, do not think this breath invented you, this breath only displays you. The air is just a carrier of a presence that was determined long before lungs were ever formed, and if you could grasp this deeply, your confidence would no longer depend on achievements, because achievements are only updates of visibility, not updates of existence. Existence was always complete. You only become more visible with time, not more real. Your realness is fixed, your disclosure is progressive, your essence is eternal, your appearance is temporal, and birth was simply the first frame of visibility in a movie that was authored before the projector ever turned on you. Said, consciousness is not discovering God, it is remembering where it always belonged, because discovery implies that the thing was outside and unknown, while remembrance implies that the thing was always inside, just temporarily forgotten. And Ibn Arabi's entire metaphysical structure rests on this one reversal, that your journey is not a journey of acquisition, it is a journey of unveiling. You're not collecting truth, you are peeling away noise. The soul is not an empty container waiting to be filled. The soul is a full container, slowly becoming able to bear its own fullness. This is why the first touch of spirituality does not feel like learning something new, it feels like recognizing something old. You do not feel informed, you feel remembered. Something ancient inside quietly says, yes, I know this, not because you studied it, but because you came from it. The signal of truth does not arrive like a foreign language, it arrives like a forgotten mother tongue, and this is why real spiritual awakening is not expansion outward, it is contraction inward, peeling, collapsing the imitated self-layers of identity that were borrowed from culture, and fear, and imitation slowly fall off, and what remains is the original knowing, the pre-programmed alignment, the primordial familiarity. This is why you can read 1,000 books, but one sentence at the right moment can pierce your existence like lightning, because that one line does not teach, it triggers, it unlocks a memory of a covenant that was taken before physical existence, before the world was constructed, before the first atom was assembled, before the first photon vibrated, before time became a measurable axis. The covenant is not metaphor, it is the raw architecture of spiritual identity. When consciousness meets God, it does not find Him, it recognizes Him. This is why every genuine mystical encounter feels like coming home, even if you reached there from a path that was twisted and bleeding, because recognition is not dependent on root, recognition is dependent on origin. The problem is not distance, the problem is amnesia. The human being is suffering not because God is absent, but because attention is hijacked. Your consciousness is not supposed to invent meaning, your consciousness is supposed to remember meaning, and when that remembering ignites even partially, a strange peace comes without reason, because belonging does not need proof, belonging only needs remembrance, and when a person touches that real belonging, they stop worshiping outcomes and begin to move from a deeper place. Decisions stop coming from anxiety, they start coming from alignment. The voice inside becomes more trustworthy than the noise outside. External validation collapses like chalk in rain, because you are no longer trying to prove yourself to a world that never authored you in the first place. How can the world certify you when you were written before the world existed? You are not an applicant in creation, you are participant in disclosure. So, when consciousness turns toward God, it is not upgrading to a higher reality, it is returning to its origin reality. This is why the mystic smile is subtle and unexplainable. It is the smile of someone who has remembered they were never lost, and this is why Ibn Arabi keeps repeating that the journey is circular, not linear. We do not travel to reach, we travel to recall. The traveler is not going toward God, the traveler is turning toward the place from where he came. Your highest awakening is not achievement, your highest awakening is recognition. You do not discover the one, you remember the one, because you belonged before you appeared. You are known before you were named, you are held before you were embodied, and everything that is true in you is a flashback, not a breakthrough. The soul is not created from nothing, the soul is revealed from the hidden, because nothingness cannot be the source of anything, and pure void cannot generate meaning, and absence cannot manufacture presence. Creation in the Ibn Arabi language is not a factory that produces new realities. Creation is a mirror that discloses what was already true in the divine knowledge. So, when we say the soul came into existence, we are speaking from the view of time, not from the view of reality, because in time something appears, then we label that appearance as beginning. But in the divine knowledge, there is no beginning, there is only the deployment of a pattern into a frame of visibility. The soul is not fabricated like a physical object in a lab, the soul is unveiled like a light that was always inside a lantern, but the curtain around it was removed, and so its radiance became visible. The essence was there before the visibility, the meaning was there before the manifestation, the truth was there before the appearance. So when the body is formed, that body is not the creator of the soul, the body is the receiver of the soul, the container, not the origin, the medium, not the source, the arrival point, not the birthplace, and the soul has a deeper genealogy than atoms and biology and genetics, because atoms are temporary patterns of energy, and energy is an expression of instruction, and that instruction originates not from chemistry, but from meaning, and that meaning is timeless. And so if someone says the soul began when the body formed, they are shrinking an ancient luminous existence into a physical timestamp, and this is a distortion of perspective, because the soul is older than mass, older than gravity, older than electromagnetism, older than the star fields, older than the first plasma burst, older than the early quantum foam, older than the very conditions that permitted matter to coagulate into form. The unseen is the parent, the seen is the offspring, the invisible is the root, the visible is the branch, the eternal is the cause, the temporal is the echo, and so the soul is not created from nothing, because nothing has no potential, nothing has no pattern, nothing has no information, and the soul is pure information, pure meaning, pure identity assigned to a body for a short sequence in time to serve as a witness to divine manifestation, and the sequence inside time is simply a disclosure sequence to make the eternal visible inside a temporal lens. When your time ends, the visibility ends, but the being does not end, because the origin was never visibility, the origin was meaning. This is why death is not a shutdown, death is a withdrawal of the soul from the medium of density back into the medium of subtlety. The soul does not dissolve, it returns, and this return is not a collapse, it is a removal of the veil, and Ibn Arabi calls the world a shadow, a projection of truths into the gallery of appearances, and shadows do not create figures, figures create shadows. Likewise, bodies do not manufacture souls, bodies only cast the visibility of souls, and so the real identity of a human being is not the part that can be photographed, measured, weighed, scanned, or dissected. The real identity, the unphotographable, the unseen flame, the invisible pattern, the pre-eternal signature, the secret name inside the divine knowledge that was not created from void, but was revealed from the hidden. The soul is not born, the soul assigned, the soul is not invented, it is displayed. The soul is not an object, the soul is a disclosure. The soul is not temporary, the soul is a traveler through temporary frames. The soul is not a blank page, it is a written truth unfolded into the theater of matter, thus long enough for recognition to occur, because visibility is momentary, but reality is forever.